And what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It is your boy Cheap Ludes, and I'm back with another video. So before we get started, man, if you're new to the channel, subscribe, man. I do daily NBA 2K21 My Team videos, and if you're not, drop a like on this video, comment down below. So I was gonna do a market video yesterday, but I decided to do a stream last night instead. So shout out to everybody who popped up in the stream. Had a good time. We'll be doing some more of those in the near future. So we're going to be talking about the market today, but we're going to talk about XP for a second. First, we got our 3 XP challenges today. They're actually really easy. 3 3-pointers, 5 rebounds with a center, and just play a limited game. Don't even have to win. Just play it. Worth it. Like I've said in the past, I mean, realistically, if you're not going for Kawhi, it's still a good idea to try to get as far up on the agenda board as possible, just because you're getting a lot of free stuff. So doing these play triple threat, win domination, and play triple threat online challenges is a great way to get a pretty good amount of XP without having to really like go buy players or do anything. It just helps you earn a bunch of stuff. So doing these free challenges that don't require any type of like purchases through the auctions is always a good idea. But just getting as high as possible, even if you're not going for Kawhi, is a good idea. There's just a lot of good rewards on the agenda board in general. Doing a lot of these challenges obviously will help you out too. I recommend, if you're not wanting to grind all of these, which I get, doing that Kareem challenge, doing the Kobe 81 point challenge, just because you can get a shoe that's worth 20, 30K there. Doing any of those, and doing these for a free pack, it just helps you out, get you some free stuff, and combo that with putting in locker codes, you can get a decent amount of free packs every week. Playing limited is a really good idea right now too. If you're not great online, probably not really worth it playing, but you can get some of the flash packs now. Really only the Flash 4, Flash 5, and Flash 6 are going to get you cards that are really, really worth it. But at the same time, still a lot of MT to be made if you do happen to pull those packs. So we're going to talk about some of the cards that have come out on Friday and what to kind of do about them. So realistically, at this stage in the game, it's better to save your MT and to make moves that'll net you a lot of MT while still having like a competent squad that you can throw out there and use to win games, especially when it comes to like PvP games and PvE type games, so against a CPU or human opponent. So Hakeem Olajuwon, I'm actually kind of surprised. His price has started to go up a little bit. He was a little bit cheaper yesterday, which I was surprised he was only going for about 260, 280 yesterday. Because for all intents and purposes, he's probably the best big man in this game. Like, I think overall, he's better than Anthony Davis when it comes to just being a more complete player. He has a great badge count, nice mix of both like offensive and defensive badges. He has a lot of facilitating badges. He plays really well as like a point center. Now, I will say that number one, his speed, just like last year, it says he's a lot faster than he feels. He does feel a little bit slower than his speed indicates. Like with that, well, I think it's like an 86 because it has like a shoe on or whatever, but it feels slower than that, but he still moves pretty decent for a center. It's definitely better than it was last year. If you remember that Opal Hakeem last year, he moves better than that one. Jimmy Butler's price has gone up a little bit just because people are starting to realize that in order to properly defend like a Tracy McGrady or something like that, you either need Terry Dissinger or Jimmy Butler or a super badged up other card. So his price has kind of gone up a tad. Glenn Rice will be the first card from the Flash set I'm going to talk about. He's going from anywhere from 20 to 30K on Xbox, so typically the prices on PlayStation, it's kind of hard to predict those. I don't play on PlayStation for the most part. My brother does, so that's kind of where I get some of my information about the PlayStation prices there. But it seems to be going for around the same thing, anywhere from like 20 to 35 on PlayStation, 20 to 30 on Xbox. As far as Glenn Rice himself, he's a really, really good card. Like, he's 6'7", so he's big at the 2 guard. He's got a pretty decent wingspan. He moves pretty well. Defensively, he's not great, but he's very competent. He has every shooting badge that you would need. Range extender, flexible, tireless, volume. He unfortunately has that Hall of Fame steady shooter, but it ends up being canceled out by the Hall of Fame flexible, so it's basically like you don't really have either of those badges. But the real thing about Glenn Rice is the decision you have to make is how good are you at getting consistent wide open threes. Now, if you're like very consistently wide open for threes, if you're very good at getting the ball spread around and making those shots and getting those wide open shots, Glenn Rice may not be the guy for you just because of that Hall of Fame steady. He is going to miss slightly more whites than some other players are, but it's a calculated risk because he has a very quick jump shot that's easy to green. He also has an incredibly good badge count. Now, as far as badges that you'd want to give him, stop and go, clutch shooter, and deadeye are imperative. I promise both of those are going to be very, very important. Also, like pickpocket, stuff like that. Interceptor, just stuff to help him on the defensive end. But I can't tell you clutch shooter is without a doubt one of the most slept on badges in the game. It's just kind of an overlooked badge for the most part. But when you're in the last 2 minutes of a contested game, having as many guys with clutch shooter out there as possible is going to help you overcome your opponent, especially if they don't have as many guys with clutch shooter. So when you're making a decision like which budget guy do I want to go with as far as like a 2-guard or a wing, between like Rudy Fernandez, Eddie Jones, and Glenn Rice, 3 guys I often recommend grabbing. If you want all-around offense with some okay defense, you would go Rudy Fernandez. He can ball handle, he can do a little bit of everything. If you want someone who's going to be a pure sniper, you go Glenn Rice, if that's your play style. If you want a 3-and-D guy that's going to play excellent defense, hit the wide open 3, and occasionally can drive to the rim when he needs to, Glenn Rice. Just depends. So, I don't know if it's Jeff or Joff. I have no idea. But Petrie is so good. The fact that he is this cheap is insane. You can get him for around 15 to 10K. I've seen him as low. I saw some going up for like 9.5 yesterday. Obviously, those are all gone, but you can get him as low as 12 to 15K essentially on a pretty standard. But like if you're in need of a point guard, I don't think there's a point guard as good as Petrie for that price at this point. 89 3-pointer, 80 driving dunk is solid. The 86 ball handle with the 82 pass accuracy is not great. I will say he's not going to be like a Chris Paul level facilitator for sure. 89 perimeter defense is pretty good. 93 speed, really solid. 89 lateral quickness, also really solid. He plays solid defense. I thought he was going to play way worse defense, but for the most part, pretty good. Now he has that 95 driving dunk tendency with an 85 flashy dunk tendency, which is actually a good thing because he's going to attempt to dunk a lot more than layups. That ends up doing a lot there. Play discipline is 3. So if you're running him at shooting guard, he's essentially play discipline. I've talked about it a bunch of times. It basically means how accurately are they going to follow like a play. He has a play discipline of 3. He's not really going to follow the play very much. Like the percentages of him following it correctly are going to be low. 96 crash tendency is incredibly good for a point guard or a shooting guard. He's going to go grab boards like crazy, and if you're playing TTO, that's going to be super important. He's got good range of badges. Most of them are finishing and defensive based, which I thought was kind of interesting. I didn't expect that, but he's got a Hall of Fame quick first step, tight handles, unpluckable. He's got gold difficult shots, gold dimer, clamps, heart crusher, interceptor, intimidator. He's got all the big defensive badges that you want him to have, all the dribbling badges. He has stop and go, flexible, hot zone hunter, range, floor general, and volume shooter. All gold. Now, he doesn't have gold or any catch and shoot. And if you spread the ball a lot like I do, it's probably a good idea to put catch and shoot on him. It runs you about 3K total. Pretty solid. Showtime with that flashy dunk tendency might work out. Obviously, Deadeye is going to be incredibly helpful. One of the premier badges that we're going to be seeing moving forward as far as like expensive badges is going to be Deadeye. That's going to be one of the badges that people leave off of cards. Tireless shooter, if you're running a 5-man, is going to be really important as well. If you're running a 5-man, you need to make sure all 5 guys have tireless defender and tireless shooter, just so even when they're fatigued, they still make shots. But yeah, Deadeye is going to be one of the badges. It's going to be like Deadeye, Interceptor. Those are going to be the badges that, because every card's going to have range extender and clamps from this point forward, basically. So those are the badges that are going to get left off, at least 2 of them. Blake Griffin. So Big Blake's actually really solid. You can get him for around 5K. And as far as Amethyst big men go, there really aren't that many that are incredibly good. And Big Blake is actually pretty good. Now, obviously, he's no Pink Diamond Big Blake, but he's not that far behind. Like, he's a very scaled down version, but especially if you're used to using Pink Diamond Big Blake and we're forced to run some sort of Amethyst only challenge, like this Blake Griffin, at least you're going to have that jump shot timing down. It's going to be really helpful, and if you're not, you're running like a Supreme budget squad. This Big Blake is actually solid. He's got a nice badge count. He's got all the badges you really want. He does have like gold difficult shots, so he can hit moving middies. Good defensive badges. He doesn't have clamps, so you're going to need to put that on him if you want. He does have like Showtime, quick first step. The shooting badges are where it lies, but he doesn't... Oh, he has Silver Dimer. That's cool. But yeah, the shooting badges are going to be something you're going to need to put on him, especially if you want him to be able to hit the wide open jumpers. So something like Flexible is super important. Deadeye, Hot Zone Hunter. I wouldn't waste that much MT on Big Blake personally, but if you wanted to just do something quick to help him improve immediately, Volume Shooter would be something I would recommend putting on him. So it boosts shot percentages as shot attempts accrue through the game. This is easily one of the most slept on badges in the game as far as how actually necessary it is for a card to have this. So you'll notice, like, when you're watching me play, what I did with Jonathan Isaac was I put it on him, and it helped him so much. Yeah, you're going to miss a bunch of shots at the beginning, but it's going to help your percentages as the game goes on. That'll make a big difference with someone like Blake Griffin. Brian Russell. If you watched my stream last night, I was hyping the shit out of Brian Russell, and I think I've, in like 2 videos prior to that, he's the ultimate 3-and-D Ruby. Like, legitimately. He's got a really easy-to-time jump shot, good size, excellent badges, flexible, hot zone, range extender. He's an Evo card, which, honestly, that kind of sucks because you can't add any badges to him, and there's a couple badges that I would like to add to him that you can't. But at the same time, it's not the biggest deal in the world. The Evo isn't crazy hard because he steals the ball at an incredibly high clip, and I think you have to get like 25 steals with him. 93 three-pointer, 80 driving dunk, 75 ball handle, which you're realistically not going to use him to handle the ball. When you do, it's good enough that you'll be able to get away with using it for a second. 87 speed isn't bad. He's got good lateral quickness for defensive purposes. 95 pass intercept, 95 on-ball steal, 75 contest, 85 block with a 5 foul tendency. Elite defender, probably the best Ruby 2 guard in the game. And you can Evo him up to an Amethyst, which helps him out with mid-range, gives him a +8 mid-range, a +11 ball handle, so that actually helps a lot. So he can be another ball handler on your lineup. Helps his passing accuracy as well, especially if he's getting clogged up, and gives him Hoff catch and shoot and Hoff clamp, so he's even more of a premier defender. Now, I'm probably going to wait to Evo him just because I'm not sure about the Evos in relation to Limited. They've been doing a pretty good job of making that not a thing. So I would still like to use him in Ruby-based challenges. So him and Jarrett Jack, I haven't Evo'd yet. And I don't plan on once I get up there. Dino Radja. All right. This is the one I've been waiting to talk about. Look, I'm way higher on this Dino Radja card than majority of people are, I would say. And I try to do these buy and sell videos without my personal biases for the most part. You guys watch my channel for a while, you know that guys that I love, I will still tell you to sell type stuff. I personally do not think that okay, so hypothetically speaking, if you have like Anthony Davis and Hakeem and then you have Dino Radja, it's probably not a terrible idea to sell Dino for 70k. That being said, it's also probably not a bad idea if you drew him in a pack to hold on to him, just because if we get an Amethyst-based challenge, there's no big man in the game that's as good as Dino Radja. And there's certain situations that you can make tactical downgrades to Dino Radja that will actually benefit you. Like, I put gold clamps on him because he's going to be my starting center on my main squad for a little while. I'm not even kidding. I sold Kristaps Porzingis because I'm that comfortable with Dino Radja. I'm going to apply like Dimer to him, probably Interceptor and Defensive Leader, as well as Clamps, just to give him a little bit more of a range. Possibly Deadeye and Space Creator. I haven't really decided what how I'm going to go with Dino yet, because he's only got, I think, 4 4 or 5 badge slots, and I've already used one on clamps, so I'm determining exactly what my playstyle is before I badge them up any further. Something I recommend doing with a lot of cards. But if you have, like, for instance, a DeMarcus Cousins, okay, for certain playstyles, DeMarcus Cousins is a better card. For certain playstyles, Dino Radja is a better card. Like, for me personally, I prefer Dino over DeMarcus Cousins, so same with Kristaps. There's a reason for that. I mean, he's got a 7'11 wingspan, he's got a really great badge count, and he lowers my overall. All these things are important to me. Now, I'm not saying go sell DeMarcus and get Dino Radja. Like, I'm not saying that, especially because Dino's price has increased. If he was down at like 40 or 50K, I would say absolutely, but because he's at 70 or 80K, I would say not necessarily. Dino's a card to keep an eye on, though, because if his price starts to waver at all, I would go pick this man up, but at this stage in the game, as much as I love this card, it's just not worth spending 80K on an Amethyst. It's not. You know, before his price increased, I would have told you, yeah, it's probably a good idea to sell Dcuz when his value is high and just run Dino for now. But at this point, like, you're only making about 30K off that transaction, and it's not incredibly worth it. Carmelo Anthony. This card's really expensive, man. It's crazy. I mean, he's good, don't get me wrong. He has that half corner specialist, but if you're on current gen, it doesn't mean anything because he's going to step over the line every single time. You're not going to be able to shoot threes. They could have fixed it with this card, but he still has Carmelo base, so jump in the comments down below if you think they fixed it or not. I don't think they did. He's got an excellent badge count. And on the offensive end, I mean, the best case scenario for if you are a huge Carmelo fan, you want to use this Carmelo card, I highly recommend running point forward with this card just to keep him out of the corners. And if you are not going to be running point forward, they gave him gold steady. I mean, it's not the biggest deal in the world. You're going to want to give him like Dimer and stuff like that, but that just keeps him out of the corners and it frees you up to shoot threes because people have to respect this card because he's absolutely wet. And Carmelo base, although it has that issue, is a really nice jump shot. Now, obviously, if you really want this Carmelo to be max, you're going to give him flexible, you're going to give him hot zone hunter. Those are necessary. But using a different freelance that allows the either wherever you're playing him, I recommend playing him probably at small forward, allows the small forward or the power forward up to the top of the key as opposed to the corners, like a piston snap does occasionally, and I forgot what the other one is. That's going to be imperative. You're going to need to alter your game plan, especially if you're a Hawks freelance guy, because Hawks freelance, they're just going to be posted in the corners constantly. So Kyrie Irving, I'm actually surprised is as cheap as he is because we just don't have that many elite point guard options in the game. And Kyrie is, for all intents and purposes, an elite point guard. Great badge count. Yeah, he's a little bit small at 6'4", but we're not at the point of giant point guards yet. Like, yeah, there's Ben Simmons, but he can't shoot, so. Great badge count. Excellent badge count. He's got pretty much everything you could need. 23 Hoff badges for a pink diamond is crazy. Even his gold badges are all really, really good. All shooting, dribbling, and defense based. He doesn't have corner specialist, but you're probably not going to need it. Defensive leader would be something I would maybe put on him. Showtime. So, you know. But other than that, he's basically complete straight out of the box. So that's actually what's surprising me, that he's so cheap, and I think the reason he's so cheap is everybody kind of knows that we're going to be getting a lot more point guards in the near future. So if you really are a big Kyrie fan, 200K is not bad for him at this point, but he will be a lot cheaper probably in a week or two because we're getting an Opal point guard at some point. And that brings me to my next thing, Giannis. If you have this pink diamond Giannis card, I don't care how much you like it, now is the time to get rid of this card. Why do I say that? Because it is inevitable we're getting an Opal Giannis. Honestly, I believe that is going to come this week. Like, I truly think that. Whether that comes in, I'll talk about the possible packs in a second, but I really do believe that we are getting an Opal Giannis, if not this week, next week. And it wouldn't at all surprise me if said Giannis played point guard. Not even kidding. I don't know why, I just feel like 2K would do that, but we're definitely going to get an Opal Giannis soon, so it's time to move on for that pink diamond Giannis ASAP. You want to tactically downgrade, go grab Karolinko. Whether that comes as the next Idols player or if that comes in a Retro 2K set, like if they do Retro 2K and one of the Opals is a Giannis from 2K20 or 2K19, That remains to be seen, or if we get him in another promo. But either way, we're definitely getting a Giannis within the next 2 to 3 weeks, definitely by the end of the season. So I highly recommend getting rid of that pink diamond Giannis now while you still have a chance to get over 100K for it. So anyways, it's been your boy Cheap Ludes. I hope this market video helped you make at least some sort of decision. Probably didn't, but whatever. As always, check my description, new episode of the podcast tonight, and I'll be back with new content all week. Later.